Ordrelev is free. Armag is dead. Your hero's kingdom is growing, and so is its list of enemies. Pitax has been watching the kingdom grow and get closer and closer to its own borders. Welcome back to the GM's Guide to Running Kingmaker. This is episode 18, and we're opening chapter 8, War of the River Kings. This chapter is broken down into 5 parts. Today we're covering part 1, pages 332 through 347, which is entirely devoted to one thing, the Rushlight Tournament. Chapter 8 is where the campaign shifts from exploration and kingdom building to war, but it starts off with the tournament. Before the invitation arrives, you should understand who sent it, because running Castruccio Irovetti well requires knowing the difference between who he pretends to be and what he actually is. He was not born Irovetti, he was born Mandallaruccio, a conman and thief who ran schemes in Numeria before things went badly for him. He killed several agents of the Technic League, stole their artifacts, and fled south into the River Kingdoms, where he reinvented himself entirely. New name, new identity. In the River Kingdoms, he found his footing. His wanderings eventually brought him to the outskirts of Pitax, where he entered a forest called the Thousand Voices, looking for rumored treasure. That's where he met Nerissa. She found him in the Thousand Voices forest, took him to the First World for a month, and became his muse and his patron. She gave him gifts, including dark vision and the ability to see invisible creatures. She asked one thing of him in return: find a missing sword called Briar. Armed with Nerissa's favor and the Mind-Render baton he carried from Numeria, a piece of Numerian technology that commands false loyalty in its target, Irovetti went back to Pitax and took the crown. He invited the city's 2 ruling brothers, Lothair and Berengar, to a card game, used the baton on them, and left with a signed document handing him everything. Neither brother remembered being duped. He didn't fight for the throne, he didn't earn it, he manipulated their minds and took it. He then spent years searching for Briar on Nerissa's behalf, and when his agents finally found it at White Rose Abbey, he did something she hadn't foreseen. He brought the sword back to Pitax and hid it from her. He's hiding the sword because he knows that delivering it ends his usefulness. Nerissa tolerates him because she needs him. Without Briar's leverage, that changes. So Irovetti is simultaneously Nerissa's agent and Nerissa's hostage, and he knows it. What he doesn't know is that Nerissa is still pulling the strings. Her influence has been quietly shaping his personality for years, steering a vain and fearful man towards exactly the kind of aggression that serves her. The war in Chapter 8 is her plan. She wants the heroes in Irovetti to grind each other down so she can move on whoever survives. Irovetti thinks he's making a bold strategic play. He isn't. He's being manipulated. If he doesn't move fast enough on his own, she has agents ready to provoke the conflict herself. You will also want to be familiar with the Rushlight Tournament before the invitation arrives, in order to answer any questions the heroes may have. This is the 5th annual Rushlight Tournament. Irovetti has held one every year since he took the crown of Pitax, and by now it's one of his most popular traditions. Well known enough that a DC 20 society check confirms it as common knowledge across the River Kingdoms. Most contestants come from Pitax itself, but rulers and champions travel in from across the region to compete, and in past years even Brevoy sent representatives. Not this year. Brevoy's internal tensions have gotten bad enough that no one from that kingdom shows up. This is a detail worth making a point to mention to a hero with Brevik ties or knowledge, since it signals just how much is shifting outside the hero's own kingdom. Day 1 is pure spectacle. No contest yet, just trading, feasting, a preview of the menagerie's beasts, and fireworks once the sun goes down. And then the real competition starts. Days 2 through 4 bring 3 main events, one per day at the Colosseum: archery, the Test of the Axe, and Boasting. Day 5 is a day of rest before the grand finale. On the night of the 6th day, the wine flows in honor of Pitax's Vintiers, and the tournament builds to its climax, the Midnight Joust, followed by the announcement of the overall winner. Merchants from across the River Kingdom set up stalls and tents to hawk their wares. Jugglers, minstrels, mummers' troops, and trained animals compete for the crowd's attention and coin. It should feel loud, crowded, and genuinely fun. The heroes should be having a good time right up until the moment they aren't. Here are a few named locations of note to point out to the heroes as they explore the grounds. The Colosseum is a large field of packed dirt where all 4 tournament events take place, with spectator benches on the north side and a nobles box on the east end. The Menagerie, an enormous purple pavilion run by Madame du Clarion, a sorcerer who keeps charmed collection of dinosaurs, rare animals, and monstrous beasts for festival goers to gawk at, held calm and controlled through her own enchantments. The Rotunda is where tickets to each day's events are sold, from 1 silver piece for a single seat to 100 gold pieces for a private box seating 10. And the Royal Blue, a small lake ringed with silk pavilions reserved for visiting River Kingdom dignitaries. If the heroes accept Irovetti's invitation, they're granted the easternmost pavilion for the duration of the event. None of this needs to be a big production, but dropping in 1 or 2 sensory details, the smell of festival food, a barker calling out from the rotunda, roars from the menagerie, helps to sell the tournament as a real, beloved cultural event. If you've enjoyed this series or found it useful, please take a minute to like this video and leave me a comment. Let me know something fun about your campaign. These interactions really help the videos get seen, and they give me the encouragement to keep making these guides. Before we dive into Chapter 8, I want to take a minute to acknowledge that by this point, you will be starting the final third of this adventure. This guide covers the adventure as it's written, but Kingmaker is a sandbox, and we all know in ttrpgs, nothing ever goes to plan. By this point, your campaign is almost certainly diverged from what the adventure had planned for. Player decisions, homebrew, and unexpected story turns all compound to create your own unique experience, and that's what makes ttrpgs great. Unfortunately, it also makes guides like this one hard to be perfect match for every table. There's simply no way for the adventurer or me to be able to predict every unique way your campaign unfolds. Use this guide as a foundation, but expect that you'll likely need to make adjustments for it to fit at your table. The adventure calls for the invitation to arrive once the heroes reach 13th level and have dealt with both Drelev and Armag. At that point, a messenger named Velamander arrives. The adventure suggests using a Pitax Warden stat block if you need them, referenced on page 336. He brings handout 8-1 on page 332, a formal invitation to the Rushlight Tournament, signed by Irovetti himself. The adventurer states that he is willing to wait up to a day for the heroes to make a decision before returning to Pitax and report their response to Irovetti. The tone is gracious, almost warm. He frames the tournament as a celebration of River Kingdom strength, a chance for neighboring rulers to meet and compete in good sport. He extends it as a peer-to-peer gesture. It is, of course, a trap. Not in the physical sense, not yet, but diplomatically. Irovetti uses the tournament as a strategic time for his first military strike, when the heroes are away from their kingdom and inside his territory. The heroes will have good reasons to attend. The prize is significant, a wand of planar palace plus 8,000 gold pieces. The adventure later calls out that if none of the heroes are spellcasters, to swap out the wand with another rank 15 item. Refusing an invitation from a neighboring ruler without cause reads as either weakness or insult to the other kingdoms in attendance. and this is a chance to meet the River Kings face to face, gather intelligence, and assess who might be allies or enemies when things go bad. And things are going to go bad. The adventure acknowledges that some groups won't take the bait. Maybe they distrust Irovetti on instinct. Maybe they just don't care about tournaments. The Alternate Preludes to War sidebar on page 335 details how to handle this situation. If the heroes decline, Irovetti is annoyed but not deterred. He proceeds with his plans regardless. The tournament happens off-screen without them, and the heroes continue exploring and building until they reach 14th level, at which point Irovetti launches his attack on one of their settlements, kicking off part 2 of the chapter. They skip everything in part 1. No intelligence gathering, no face-to-face read on Irovetti, no chance to see Villamor Koth before they eventually fight him. No sense of what Pitax's political reach actually looks like. The war still comes, they just go into it blind. Whether that matters depends on your group. Some parties will find their own way into part 2 and won't miss what they skipped. Others will wish they had gone once the war actually starts and they're dealing with enemies they've never seen. One useful piece of advice the adventure suggests is that should the heroes skip the tournament, you can repurpose the events in this chapter for a different occasion. If the hero's own kingdom decides to host a celebration in their honor, the same rules would work with different names and no grand prize. The competition would be purely for fun and spectacle, their own citizens cheering them on instead of rival kingdoms watching for weaknesses. If your group would enjoy the tournament content in that framing, you can use it later. The tournament is held at a festival ground northeast of Pitax along Cutter's Creek near the Rushlight River. This is neutral enough to not feel like walking into the throne room, but still close enough to Pitax that Irovetti controls the terrain. The grounds are well appointed. Banners, pavilions, a jousting track, archery ranges, and a raised platform for boasting. 6 kingdoms are represented: the Hero's Kingdom, Daggermark, Gralton, Mevon, Pitax, and Timon. Each has a pavilion, and the atmosphere is celebratory and competitive. Tournament security is handled by Pitax City and Palace Guards, as well as the notorious Pitax Wardens. Their stats are detailed on page 336. As the host of the tournament, Irovetti is arbiter and final judge for all events. He has appointed a trusted warden, Nunzio Arpeia, as master of ceremonies, making all the announcements, introductions, and commentary during the games. Sometime during the first day, he will approach the heroes and outline the 4 events and determine who will be competing for the Hero's Kingdom for each event, so that he can properly announce them. When the heroes arrive at the festival, it is expected of them to visit King Irovetti at his royal pavilion. The heroes should know or be advised that this is a standard diplomatic expectation, as Irovetti is the host of the festival. He is tall, well-dressed, and genuinely charming. He knows who the heroes are, probably more than they're comfortable with, and he shows just enough of that knowledge to be impressive without tipping his hand. He is gracious, curious, complimentary. He asks good questions and listens to the answers. He is also carrying Numerian technology, a long staff of unusual metal with shifting blades and a spike. This is the Rod of Razors. And a thin, short rod of strange metal with flashing lights, the mind-rendered baton. These are both on his person at all times. Neither is magical. They're high-tech Numerian devices. His stat block is in the appendix on page 593. He is a rank 16 creature. Not a fight the heroes will likely win at 13th level, but he is not supposed to be. He should come off as someone who never seems afraid. He should feel like someone who always has more options than you can see, because he does. The Pitax Wardens are visible throughout the grounds. Their stat blocks are referenced on page 336 as a creature 12. They are the perimeter security and a consequence of rule breaking. The heroes will learn their strength very quickly if they push things. The tournament runs over several days and consists of 4 events. 6 kingdoms present champions who compete for tournament points. Scoring is simple. Taking first place in an event earns the competitor's kingdom 2 tournament points, 80 XP for the hero who competed and 80 kingdom XP for the kingdom. Taking second earns 1 tournament point for the competitor's kingdom, 40 XP for the hero, and 40 kingdom XP for the kingdom. At the end of the tournament, the kingdom with the most points wins the grand prize. Each contest has its own rules, but there are 3 rules governing all events. Breaking one of these rules disqualifies you from that event. Nunzio announces them at the opening ceremony. Do not harm spectators, do not kill competitors, and do not get caught cheating. Take note that the 3rd rule is not do not cheat, it is do not get caught. This is intentional, and the tournament's contestants understand this distinction. The heroes should too, once they see what the other competitors are doing. If a hero is caught cheating, Nunzio disqualifies them from that event and they receive no points. Each event, I'll walk you through what the adventure says, what the key NPC competitors are doing, and what to watch for. Day 2 is the archery contest. Irovetti provides the bows. Every hero gets the same non-magical longbow and 6 arrows. Spread across 6 rounds, 3 targets stand at different ranges, each painted with a different beast. The blue target is the closest and bears a kobold. It is the easy shot, worth 1 point on a hit and 3 on a critical. The green target sits in the middle with an owlbear painted on it, worth 3 points on a hit and 9 on a critical. The red target is the furthest away, marked with a dragon, and it's the one worth the most points, 5 points on a hit and 15 on a critical. Contestants can also earn bonus points by finishing their arrows early. For each round left over after all 6 arrows are fired, they gain 2 bonus points. A shooter is disqualified if they do not shoot all 6 shots within the 6th round, or if they miss all 6 shots. The math here rewards heroes who can fire multiple attacks per round at the harder targets. Encourage the heroes to think about this before competing. If they have abilities that let them fire quickly, the blue or green targets can be worth maximizing for the bonus rounds. Now the competitors of note. Damanjot of Timon is the one to watch. He's a rank 13 half-orc rogue. Before the contest, he uses thievery to swap out the provided arrows for adamantine-tipped ones that he smuggled in. Adamantine arrows have the hardness, which makes the green and red targets significantly easier to damage. He also has the far shot feat, which halves the range penalties. This, of course, is cheating. He also isn't going to get caught unless someone is actively watching for it. If one of your heroes is watching Damanjot closely before the contest and succeeds at a perception check against his thievery, they can catch him in the act and appeal to Nunzio. If caught, he will try and lie using deception. Villamor Koth of Pitax is a 15th rank barbarian, and Irovetti's champion throughout the tournament. In archery, he ignores the blue and green targets entirely. Every round he fires a single shot at the red target. He doesn't take extra shots, he doesn't rush. He's just trying to hit the hardest target available, and with his attack bonus, he should hit often. He's not trying to win the archery event, he's putting on a show of power. Ilwraith's Validkani of Daggermark is a rogue who casts True Strike before each shot, disguising the spellcasting with showy boast to the crowd. He only uses his braggadocio ability on the 4th round if he is not winning. If a hero is watching him specifically, a perception check versus his performance check reveals the spell is being cast. Another Nunzio appeal, another potential disqualification. Navarantha of Mivon is an elf ranger who fires all 6 arrows in 2 rounds using triple shot. She's going for the bonus points from the leftover rounds more than she's going for the big score criticals. Her strategy is consistent and adds up. On day 3 is the test of the axe. Each competitor stands in a 15-foot square with 4 upright logs placed at the corners. Each log has an AC of 20, hardness 5, and 20 hit points with a broken threshold of 10. The competitors are provided a great axe and nothing else. The first one to chop all 4 logs wins. The restriction is that magic is only allowed to enhance the wielder or the axe. Directly damaging the logs with spells means disqualification. Villamor Koth enters a rage and works through his logs with a great axe attack bonus of plus 28, dealing 1d12 plus 25. He also has knockback. When he crits a log and destroys it, he uses knockback to send the debris into an adjacent log, chaining the damage. He can potentially destroy 2 logs with 1 crit. Kilbaskian Ord of Gralton is a ranger, and he's not the strongest chopper in this contest. What he does instead is threaten everyone else. He has a reaction that triggers whenever any competitor destroys a log. He attempts to demoralize that competitor. This applies a frighten condition, which affects their attack rolls. He does this to every competitor in the room every time they land a hit. If the hero's champion is getting continuously demoralized, they can appeal to Nunzio with a DC 31 diplomacy check. Nunzio will warn Kilbaskian. If he continues, disqualification. Dizon Marmada of Mivon is a dwarf fighter who has worked as a lumberjack. He treats the logs as hardness 2, which makes his hits dramatically more effective per swing. He is legitimately skilled at this exact task. He is also particularly vulnerable to Kilbaskian's intimidation, and the adventure notes that explicitly. Timsina Siraj of Timon is a cleric of Gorum. She casts magic weapon on her great axe, which is allowed. If she falls out of contention and can see that she won't place, she casts Cry of Destruction, a 15-foot cone that does 68 sonic damage with a DC 32 basic fortitude save. This will damage the logs, but will also hit anyone in the area, including other contestants. She won't get disqualified for this because Cry of Destruction is a spell that enhances a weapon swing, not a direct area damage effect on the logs. The adventure presents it as a judgment call on Nunzio's part, and suggests that he gives her the benefit of the doubt. On day 4 is the Boasting contest. Each competitor takes the platform and tells the story of their greatest achievement. The rules here are minimal. They get 15 minutes, and their story must contain a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the crowd is the judge. There's 1 performance check at the end. On a critical success, the crowd loves it. On a success, they get a solid applause. On a failure, they get awkward silence. And a critical failure, the crowd throws food and the competitor loses 1 victory point. This is the most important roleplay event in the tournament, and it's the one most game masters underutilize. The performance check is not the point. The point is that you're handing your players the platform and asking them what their hero has done that they're the proudest of. That could be a battle, it could be a moment of mercy, it could be the time that they bluff their way through Fort Drelev's front gate. If your campaign has been going since Chapter 1, they should have real history to draw on. Encourage the player to actually deliver the boast, not summarize it. Actually perform it at the table for the other players. Let it be a genuine scene. If no player wants to actually deliver the boast out loud, fall back to the performance check and move on, but ask first. Notable NPC boasters include Anna Mead Belvara of Pitax, Memon Espond of Daggermark, and Mia Lolesa of Timon. Memon goes before Mia Lolesa. He spins a tall tale about seducing a high priestess of Calistria, and a successful sense motive check tips off the heroes that he's actually talking about Mia Lolesa, sitting right there listening to him tell it. It's a gotcha aimed squarely at her, not at the heroes. Mia Lolesa herself stays visibly unbothered through the whole thing, so play her as unimpressed rather than embarrassed. Mialalessa gets her turn, and she answers in kind. She tells her own tale of seducing a succubus sent to drag her back to serve the demon Tree Raiser, and how she sent the creature home so thoroughly smitten that it still mails her gifts of strange fungal wines trying to win her back. She closes with a jab about embarrassing conditions she caught from that lover, and how she hopes none of her more recent partners have picked up a painful rash of late. She then shoots Memon a sly look while he squirms in front of the whole crowd. The one boaster you should not skip is Anamid Belvara, the bard that the heroes met back in Chapter 5 during the hunt at the start of the Season of Bloom. She's still in the tournament, 5 levels stronger, and her boast is personal. She claims to have spent months spying on the hero's kingdom. If the heroes never impressed her back in Chapter 5, she boasts about how she's been quietly sabotaging their kingdom. If they built at least 4 influence with her, she instead boasts about how she's been helping them behind the scenes. Either way, you can pull real events from your own campaign's kingdom building session to make her claims land. If Anime didn't survive in Chapter 5, her sister Ilmestria takes her place in the boasting contest instead, and she is openly hostile, blaming the heroes for Animede's death. The Midnight Joust happens on the night of Day 6. This is the most anticipated event of the tournament. Every competitor rides into this one mounted, armed with the standard lance and shield that Irovetti provides. Both shatter after a single use, so nobody is walking away with a favorite weapon. Attacking the horses is off limits, and the winner of each match is simply whoever unseats their opponent first. The bracket runs single elimination across 3 stages, so you're building towards one final matchup. The important detail to note here is that the adventure doesn't run the joust as a full combat encounter. Each match plays out as a series of opposed checks. So keep the pace brisk and treat it like a dramatic beat rather than a fight you need to grind through round by round. The adventure gives you specific matchups. In Stage 1, the hero competing in this event draws Damanjot of Timon, and he's already lost before the match even starts. He spent the evening celebrating way too aggressively, and he rides in drunk and sickened too. While that's happening, looking across the bracket, Villamor Koth is riding against Christelle Cotio of Mivon, and Christelle vomits mid-joust and blacks out cold. Villamor doesn't even break a sweat, putting her down. In Stage 2, the heroes move on to Chantal Urena of Daggermark, and this time it's a real fight. Chantal is a ranger who isn't taking any chances. She drinks a Juggernaut mutagen before the match, which pushes her fortitude to plus 26 and athletics to plus 24, and she rides in trying to win. Villamor sits this round out entirely. As last year's reigning champion, he gets a bye straight to the final. So while the hero is grinding through Chantal, he is watching from the sidelines. In Stage 3, it's the hero versus Villamor Koth. This is a much tougher fight than the first 2 stages. Villamor is not trying to unseat the hero, he is trying to hurt them. He targets the rider, not the saddle. He makes lance strikes at a plus 28 attack, dealing 1d8 plus 12 damage. After a hit, he uses knockback, which forces a DC 30 reflex save to avoid being unseated. He's not playing within the spirit of the rules, but he is technically following them. A joust is won by unseating your opponent. The rules say nothing about damaging them before that happens. What Villamor wants is one of 2 things: to win cleanly on his terms, or to provoke the hero into retaliating in a way that gets them disqualified. He is working for Irovetti. He knows that war is coming, and he wants to know what these heroes do when they're angry and on horseback and something is hitting them harder than it should. Let him be dangerous. Let the heroes feel it. And if a hero retaliates outside of the rules, let Nunzio see it. Whether Villamor wins or is properly unseated, he files it away. He has learned something about the hero, and that grudge is going to matter when they meet again in Irovetti's palace. And that's the end of Day 6. The joust is finished. With the Midnight Joust decided, Irovetti and Nunzio take the field to award the grand prize, the Wand of Planar Palace, and a treasure chest with 8,000 gold pieces. As previously mentioned, swap the wand for a different 15th level item instead if nobody in your group has spellcasting that can use it. There's no reason to hand the heroes something that none of them can use. The tournament is nearly done. There are fireworks over the festival grounds. There is wine. Irovetti is gracious and congratulatory and shaking hands. Let your heroes get a moment to celebrate. And then a messenger arrives. Avinash Jurg, Irovetti's general, has led 3 armies against one of the hero settlements while they have been at this tournament. The tournament was a distraction. The heroes learned their kingdom was attacked, probably via sending or a dream message from an NPC back home, while they're standing on Irovetti's festival grounds, surrounded by his wardens, having spent the last several days being watched and assessed by his champion. This is a tricky situation with a high potential to go badly. The heroes are in enemy territory, surrounded and outnumbered by P-Tax wardens. If they react with violence, this likely turns into a TPK or ends with them captured. They are not prepared for this fight right now. The adventure doesn't call this out directly, but starting a fight with the tournament's host will cause diplomatic problems at best. The heroes will look like the aggressor. They have to leave, and they have to do it with knowing Irovetti may be watching. And that's the end of part 1. Here are a few suggestions for this chapter to consider before running it. The adventure states this is the 5th annual tournament. Adjust that number based on how much time has passed in your campaign while the heroes have been kingdom building. P-Tax should be a bit more established than the hero's kingdom, so if they're already 2 or 3 years in, add years to P-Tax's age as well. Before sending the tournament invitation, consider whether your group is likely to decline. If they're the type to avoid anything that smells like a trap, be sure to present the heroes with incentives to attend. Have their advisors point out that the invitation is politically costly to refuse, and that the prize is substantial. If one of your heroes is from another kingdom that will be attending, consider having someone from their past or a diplomat from that kingdom write directly to them expressing excitement at the chance to meet and discuss possible diplomatic relations. In the adventure, the Rushlight Tournament is a P-Tax institution, always hosted by Irovetti and near his kingdom. By the time the heroes receive the invitation, they will likely already be wary of P-Tax and Irovetti. If you want to lessen the implication of a trap, establish that the tournament rotates among the river kingdoms each year, with P-Tax simply hosting this time. That changes the tone of the invitation. The heroes aren't being singled out by a rival ruler's event. They're being included in something the whole region already takes turns running. It also gives you a built-in excuse to bring the tournament back in a later season under a different host. As written, each event has one named contestant per kingdom, and the adventure leaves it open for the heroes to send a different hero to represent their kingdom in each event. Nothing stops you from allowing multiple heroes to compete together for the kingdom in a single event instead, with the exception of the Midnight Joust. That event is specifically scripted around one-on-one matchups, so adding multiple heroes there means that you'll need to add more NPCs. How you want to handle that is up to you. Another suggestion I would make is to plan ahead and decide which heroes will compete in which event. This will let you adjust the DCs to be a real challenge while still keeping them well within reach of winning. Consider having the heroes register ahead of time or timing a session break at the end of day 1 so you have time to make those adjustments before the next session. For example, in the final stage of the Midnight Joust, the adventure calls for a DC 30 reflex save against Villamore's knockback. Adjust that DC for whichever hero is participating to raise the stakes. Set it high enough that there's about a 75% chance that they'll fail the initial save. Then add a second save to grab the saddle or reins to avoid falling. Give that about a 60 to a 75% odds of success. This adds a real fear without making failure too likely. call out that Villamor is targeting them, not the saddle, unlike his other opponents, and that he's out to hurt or shake them. Set him up as a real rival for later. In the adventure, if other contestants cheat, the heroes can call it out and appeal to Nunzio. It never specifies that other contestants notice or call it out themselves. You can roll the NPC's cheating and notice checks ahead of time, give the heroes the first chance to call it out, and if they don't, have the other contestant do so, and let the heroes watch Nunzio work through the process of ruling on it. The last thing I would advise to plan for is Irovetti's location when the heroes get news of the attack. The adventure has the crowd break up quickly to celebrate after the prize ceremony, and the heroes get word of the attack on their kingdom before dawn, but it does not spell out where Irovetti goes in that time. Don't leave him standing right in front of the heroes when that news lands. A hero who just learned their kingdom is under attack, standing a few feet away from the man who ordered it, might try to end this right there, and that's a fight they aren't ready for yet. Or, if you want to be devious, Irovetti knows exactly what kind of impulse that news will create, and if you'd rather use that instinct, let him plan for it. Have him leave behind guards, a champion, or some prepared trick specifically to deal with the heroes who come looking for revenge. If the party takes the bait, don't kill them for it. Have them go down hard and wake up in the dungeons of Pitax, in need of a rescue or escape. And that wraps up part 1 of Chapter 8. Chapter 8 is going to be a lot. There are 5 parts, a mix of hexploration, warfare, and dungeon crawl. In a future video, I'll cover part 2 and part 3, where the heroes respond to the attack on their kingdom, dealing with Avanashjurg's armies, meeting Elora Nusky, the Pitaxian exile, and the White Rose Abbey, where the heroes investigate rumors of a deadly threat to their kingdom. And Nerissa isn't idle either, sending a First World Tempest tearing through the region sometime during part 2, grinding down the heroes and their armies while war is already stretching them thin. If you found these videos useful, please like and subscribe to follow along chapter by chapter, and leave me a comment about your campaign. Did your heroes go to the Rushlight Tournament? And did anyone try and cheat? Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.